Now, your community in action. Here's Arlene Salman.
Good afternoon, and welcome to your community in action here at WVOX 1460 on your AM dial and WVOX.com. And you know what that means? Wherever you are in the entire world, you never have to miss WVOX because you just go to your computer and you could go to WVOX.com. If you're around in the hood, so to speak, in the nearby neighborhoods and communities and towns and cities, you can listen live on the radio, 1460 AM. So you've got it made. You could listen no matter where you are. And I'm Arlene Salman, your host for your Community in Action. And I'm here thanks to the generosity of WVOX family because they want you to know what resources are out there for you. And we have a wonderful engineer with us today. Stephanie is going to be handling the tools of the trade, so to speak. She's making sure that you hear us. And you know what? She's making sure that we could hear you. No, I don't mean right now. If you call, we'll hear you. So get that part straight. 914-6, what? 914-6360110. That's right. I was just testing to see if some of our listeners remembered the number. And I could actually hear you saying it with me. That's terrific. So that means if you want to call with a question or a comment or to share something, a personal experience that you'd like us to know about relating to the topic of the day, we're here for you. And now I'd like to say welcome to Dr. Drew Mullane from the Westchester Jewish Community Services.
Thank you so much.
So you are the director of a long title, Integration, Innovation, and Community Partnerships. That's a big title, and I know it's also a big job. Tell us a little bit about your job.
So my job at WJCS is to essentially help with systems transformation for the positive, making sure that our services are accessible and meeting the needs of the community out there. And my job also is about interfacing with our community partners, government partners, local clergy, and people throughout the community to make sure that we're partnering up with different people out there to make sure that we're meeting the needs of both those organizations and also the community of Westchester.
You know, WJCS, as we'll probably refer to it as the show goes along, has been around since 1943.
That's right.
And there have been so many changes and so many additions. It started out as an organization dedicated to providing services for a certain number of people, and it has expanded and expanded and expanded over the years. And now it's one of the largest not-for-profit human services agencies in Westchester County.
That's right. Yeah.
Serving all people. It doesn't matter race, religion, or creed. All people who need help can come to Westchester Jewish Community Services to get the help they need.
That's absolutely true.
So that's a pretty big task. And I know that the staff, of which you are a part, are very dedicated. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there because you're called upon practically 24/7.
Yeah, that's true. The staff at WJCS, the passion that they have for the work that we do, the individuals we serve, and the communities we work in is, I would say, unsurpassed. It's really a privilege to work with all of the talented psychiatrists and nurse practitioners and social workers and people of all sorts of different backgrounds to make sure that we're meeting the needs of Westchester.
You know, the physical office, if you will, of WJCS is at 845 North Broadway in White Plains. That's White Plains 10603. So if anyone listening today has the desire to send in a donation, that's where you send it. You send it to Westchester Jewish Community Services, 845 North Broadway, White Plains, New York, 10603. If you want to call there for information, by all means, they'll be happy to speak with you at 914-751-0600.
That's actually 914-761-0600.
Oh, I thought that's what I said, no?
No, maybe you did.
Oh, okay. Well, if I didn't, let's say again, 914-761-0600.
Absolutely.
Okay. And this organization deals with all people. The name says Westchester Jewish Community Services. It's not just for the Jewish population by any stretch of the imagination. It's
That's
for
absolutely
all
true.
people of all races, all religions, and even all ages at this point.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And in fact, I would say the bulk of our services are allocated to the community at large, not just people of Jewish descent. And so my particular work is in our clinics division. And our clinics division, we have clinics located all over Westchester County. And actually co-located in a lot of different community partners, like the Department of Social Services or various schools, and the District Attorney's Office. So we have clinics and staff throughout the county integrated in all of our community partners, as well as independent clinics.
So therefore, if someone needs help, they could just pick up a phone and
Absolutely.
call you and know that they're going to be getting help of some kind from either you directly or someone else working there or a partner that WJCS has.
Absolutely. And one of the amazing things that has resulted as a consequence of the pandemic, and obviously there's not a lot of good things that have happened as a consequence of the pandemic, but one of them has been the rapid launch of telehealth services at WJCS, which means that individuals don't need to necessarily come into a physical office in person. Ideally, we're working towards getting back to that, and we do have some people coming for in-person services at this time. But the benefit is that we're actually able to reach people irrespective of their ability to get to us physically. And that's been of great benefit for a number of reasons. It allows us to reach individuals that might be homebound for one reason or another, or who have lack of means to access transportation, or for college students who might struggle to get off campus because they're not allowed to have cars on campus, or they don't have money to get to campus, or transportation's not easily accessible. Or, sometimes when you're a college student, you may not be highly motivated to sometimes seek out the things that
or to admit that you need help.
Absolutely.
That's, vanity is a very key ingredient in whether or not somebody is willing to admit that they could use a little bit of help.
But I also think sometimes things change so slowly for us that sometimes problems come on rapidly, and we're able to recognize the challenge in front of us.
Like a traumatic experience can cause a problem, but if it's not a traumatic experience, it's just an ongoing eating away at you that you may not realize.
Right, and so sometimes I think individuals acclimate to the challenges around them and don't realize necessarily fully or appreciate how extensively those challenges are impacting their well-being. And so I think oftentimes what happens is that, as you said, we slowly over time, build up challenges, and we don't realize it. And so the statistics are really interesting, right? Because what the statistics say is, on average, an individual takes up to 10 years to seek services.
Up to 10 years. If we get a cold, we go to the doctor. Well, maybe we go to the doctor the following week. But if we have some emotional issues, it could take 10 years for us to get help.
Yeah.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen, while we take this break here at WVOX 1460 AM. And we'll be right back with Dr. Drew. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
1460 WVOX.
Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Salman, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Salman.
Welcome back to your Community in Action here at WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com, wherever you are in the world. I know I hear my regulars saying that they already have it down pat. They have my spiel down pat. I could meet them in the grocery store and they tell me my spiel. I could meet them on the street. They know, and wherever you are, including the grocery store. Anyway, so we're talking with Dr. Drew Mullane, who is a fantastic proponent of giving assistance to all those in need, young and old, and regardless of religion, race, or anything else. And I know that you're very hard at work on providing some programs and assistance for college students these days.
That's right.
Because college students often deny needing help, other than, Mom, give me some money, Dad, send me a check. But they don't necessarily admit to having other kinds of needs.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of them. I think oftentimes college students, like all of us, have sort of competing interests, and taking care of your health isn't always at the forefront of what occupies your attention when you're younger, right? Like young people don't tend to focus on their physical health as much. And so I sort of think that it's part and parcel of perhaps maybe downplaying the extent to which we may need services. And the great thing about being a college student is that every college has a college counseling center, and their role is to essentially engage the campus community, making sure that they're providing prevention, which is often about providing college students, faculty, and the college community at large with information about the different challenges that are out there. And for college counseling centers, the topics are often about depression or about trauma, or about coping with stress, including coping with the stress of being a college student, concerns around substance use as a college student. And so one of their roles is to provide prevention services and to make sure the campus at large is aware of the different challenges that might be out there, so that people can recognize earlier the challenges that they themselves or others they know might be facing. And also to know the resources that are out there to help them to essentially address those issues. College counseling centers also have early intervention programs, which are essentially for individuals who have sort of like sub-threshold challenges, like say I'm a college student and I am struggling with anxiety, or I'm struggling with balancing the stressors of being in college. But I'm not yet. I don't yet have depression or what have you. College counseling centers often provide that early intervention services, which they'll give you tips on studying effectively, or tips on managing the stress of being a college student.
And there are stresses, of course, because this is the first time in your life, even if you're living at home, which is not always the case, it's the first time in your life that you are truly alone without the hand-holding that Mommy and Daddy have done for you all these years.
It's a profound adjustment. And the other service that college counseling centers provide is treatment. They provide psychotherapy. And what they tend to do is provide brief psychotherapy.
I was just going to say, but that's short term.
Yeah, it tends to be short term. They tend to focus on helping people to sort of jump in and develop the necessary skills to overcome whatever challenges they're having. So, if the early messaging didn't reach them, and the early intervention messaging and information didn't help to address their issues, then the college counseling centers are there to support people on a one-on-one basis or on in a group setting to essentially develop the skills and the insights in order to make the necessary changes so that they can kind of affect their overall emotional well-being.
So where does WJCS fit into this picture? Here you have a college student who's either going to day college or sleepaway school, as I call it, and they're having some issues, and they've gone to their counselor in the college, and they're still having some issues. What's next?
So good question. So where WJCS comes into the fold is right around September, August of 2020. We started getting a lot of calls from college counseling centers concerned about what they perceived to be a potential like onslaught of demand for mental health services, and a concern that they just wanted to make sure that they had a very clear referral mechanism, a very clear way of connecting students to additional mental health resources, because they were concerned, like many of us, of what was going to transpire, how the pandemic was going to impact college students. And college is tough enough, right? As you said.
Sure, no one's hand-holding anymore.
Absolutely. And a huge component of going away to college, or even, going to a local college like Westchester Community College, is the college experience, right? Socializing, developing your sense of autonomy, but also developing your interests, expanding your social networks. And so a huge component of being in college is about college life. Mm-hmm. And in the pandemic, that was taken away.
Yeah, and that's pretty disheartening. With that negative thought, we are going to take another break. This is Arlene Salman with our special guest, Dr. Drew Mullane. And I thank you, Stephanie, who's manning our booth today, our engineer of the day, to making sure that you hear us. And guess what? If you call, we'll hear you too. So if you have a question or a comment or an experience to share, 914-318-6804. 63668. Oh, my goodness. 636-0110. I'm getting my numbers all mixed up here. Okay, we'll be right back.
(1460) WVOX.
Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Salman, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Salman.
Welcome back. We are here today talking to Dr. Drew Mullane, who is a clinical psychologist. I should have mentioned this first off so that we know that we're talking to somebody who's very, very special here. So he's a clinical psychologist, and he is the Director of Innovation, Integration, and Community Partnerships at Westchester Jewish Community Services. His passion is working with individuals who have multiple and complex needs. If you don't have any needs, don't come see him. He's there for you. He's actively, and he has a great sense of humor too. He is actively involved with positively impacting the behavioral health system of care in Westchester County. He serves as the co-chair of the Department of Community Mental Health's College Collaborative Committee and co-occurring System of Care Committee, and he's a member of the DCMH's Suicide Prevention Task Force and Faith-Based Initiative, and the City of Yonkers Mayor's Health Advisory Board. In all of his work, Dr. Mullane works to ensure access and competent care to our community's most vulnerable and disenfranchised individuals. And now we're talking about college students who are often just left to their own devices. And they go off to college, whether it's commuter college or sleepaway camp, as I call it, and they're left on their own. And all of a sudden, they have all of these things beating at them, these opportunities to do maybe things that they considered naughty things before. And they're being pressured to do things that they might not have wanted to do, or they are doing it without pressure. and all of a sudden the world is closing in on them. They have all these reports that are due and these tests that they have to take and books that they have to read, and all these people pressuring them to go out every night drinking or doing drugs or whatever, and their world is just closing in on them, and the pressure becomes so great that some of them feel like they're cracking.
Yeah.
And that's when they turn to their college, sometimes to their college Department of Mental Health, if there is one.
Yep.
And sometimes it's not enough. And that's where WJCS comes in, and you come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, during the pandemic, well, even outside of the pandemic, college counseling centers would reach out to WJCS and other community partners, but WJCS to help meet the specialized needs of some students, because WJCS has a lot of specialized programs for mental health treatment, including trauma treatment, including specialized treatment services for people with developmental disabilities, specialized services for people with suicidality or self-injurious behaviors, and co-occurring disorders, and just a wealth of different specialized services, as well as generalized services. And so, oftentimes colleges would reach out to connect students to longer-term treatment that might help to focus on those needs as well. And during the pandemic, the reason colleges reached out to WJCS was because they were concerned about the overwhelming need of the college community, because college students were really suffering then.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had to learn how to, learn remotely. They had to essentially reduce the amount of activities that they were doing that helped them to feel good and feel socially engaged and connected.
It's a scary world out there right now.
It absolutely is. And so a lot of them had to be in college, or they didn't have to be, but they were in the college, facing all of the challenges of college, without a lot of the social benefits of being in college. And so it was really challenging. And so we shared this with Westchester County's Department of Community Mental Health, and Commissioner Michael Orth at DCMH. And we, with him, decided that we would partner together, WJCS and DCMH, to develop a specialized program for college students so that we could meet the needs of college students irrespective of their ability to pay. Because one of the really challenging things about being a college student is, luckily, college students are able to be on their parents' insurance, and so they're able to access care. And the other piece that's very challenging is that 70% of college students have commercial insurance.
Now, explain to our listeners what commercial insurance means.
So there's public insurance like Medicaid and Medicare, so state-sponsored insurance is a way of thinking of those. And commercial insurance is essentially the insurance providers that are out there that operate for profit. And so those are a variety of different insurance companies, but we're all familiar with them because you all have insurance policies through them. And so the challenge with commercial insurance and the mental health space and the behavioral health space is that it can be difficult to access care, because essentially oftentimes the commercial insurance rates, they really don't cover the cost of providing the care. And so it's hard to provide, or hard to find individuals, organizations that accept commercial insurance, because the amount that they're paid for the services don't cover the cost of the service.
So they say rather than have a commercial patient, a commercial insurance patient, who's going to be giving them very little money back, they'd rather have someone who doesn't have insurance and pay the whole freight.
or individuals who even can pay out of pocket, or individuals who are on public sponsored insurances that they at least cover the bills. But that's the real challenge, is that for community organizations, it's very financially straining to accept a wide swath of commercial insurance. WJCS does accept commercial insurance, a limited number of commercial insurances. Like most community mental health providers, we need to limit the types of insurance that we accept, and then the other network, or the other way that people access care in the community, is through private providers. So, maybe you'd see a private practitioner, or a private therapist, or a private psychologist, or social worker out there. And the reality is that a lot of private practitioners do not accept commercial insurance either. Because again, it doesn't cover the cost. It doesn't.
So sad.
Yeah, it doesn't allow you to survive. And so, what happens is that oftentimes people with commercial insurance are struggling to access care. So that's where WJCS and the Department of Community Mental Health stepped in to partner to ensure that college students could access care irrespective of their ability to pay. And so DCMH partnered with us and continues to partner with us, providing us funding to do this collaborative for probably the duration of the 2020-21 college year. And then Westchester Community Foundation has funded us to be able to continue to provide this service for the next year. And so college students can continue to access care irrespective of their ability to pay.
That's terrific. That really is terrific. And I hear the music in the background, which means we're going to be taking another break. But we will be back here at WVOX 1460 AM as soon as this break is over. You're listening to Dr. Drew Mullane, who is a terrific psychologist at Westchester Jewish Community Services. And we're talking today about the needs of college students and the trauma that they sometimes have to deal with. They're dealing with a new abode. They're dealing with a new portion of their lives, and they're dealing with lots of stresses. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
1460 WVOX.
Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Salman, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Salman.
Welcome back to your community in action here at WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. You want to call us, you by all means can do so, 636-0110. Now that I got that out of my mouth without stumbling. I'm stumbling today for some reason, I don't know. And Stephanie, who is our intern at the helm today, she's doing a fabulous job making sure that you can hear us, and if you call, we'll hear you. And so you can call, as I say, 636-0110. We're talking with Dr. Drew Mullane, who is working on a wonderful project to assist college students who may have some emotional needs that are not being met. And the college students are going oftentimes to their local on-campus department to help, and sometimes it's more than that that's needed, and so they turn to you, Dr. Drew.
That's right. So they turn to us at WJCS to meet the need. And during the break, you actually asked, Arlene, you asked how people might access the College Emotional Wellness Initiative at WJCS. So oftentimes I would suggest starting with your local college counseling center if you can, because
hopefully they'll cooperate.
Oh, absolutely. They definitively cooperate. They are highly motivated to meet the needs of the campus community. And I always think it's a good idea for college students to engage their counseling center if they have concerns around emotional wellness.
And there's no shame in it. It's a perfectly normal, natural thing to have some emotional reactions to your first year of college, even to your last year of college, especially your last year of college.
Anywhere throughout. I mean, one of the things that we tend to forget is is as adults, we tend to forget how challenging it is to be in college, how challenging it is to be young. There's so much we don't know about ourselves.
Right.
And being a college student is about both cognitive development, right? There is neurological maturation that's
Right.
happening in that
Well,
time
you don't
frame.
totally mature inside your head until you're in your mid-20s. So
That's absolutely
here
true.
you are, you're a young college student struggling to deal with that maturing brain and maturing morality and et cetera, and things are being thrown at you left and right, and it's not easy to deal with it.
No, it's not easy to deal with it, and the reality is that we often believe that we should be able to deal with the challenges in our
We're
lives.
very hard on ourselves.
Absolutely, and we we're not taught how to deal with the challenges in life, right? For instance, your parents might teach you about how to manage money, how to be financially wise. Someone else's parents might not teach them that.
They just keep giving it out to them.
Right. Your parents
Or not
might
at all.
right. Your parents might teach you how to swing a bat, to play baseball, or to shoot hoops. Whereas someone else's parents might not teach them that.
Right.
And so not all of us get the same skills through our parents and through the people who mentor us in life. And even if you did get the widest swath of skills for handling the mental health challenges or the challenges that might face us throughout life or do frankly face us throughout life, those skills aren't always going to be sufficient for the challenge in front of you. And that's where mental health treatment comes in. That's where psychotherapy comes in, is to aid people in developing the skills to overcome past challenges, overcome current challenges, or overcome anticipated challenges. And that's why engaging with the college mental health centers the college counseling centers is always so valuable. They have a wealth of resources. And college is one of the times in our lives where we can really have the most impact. So, if someone is struggling, they should definitely consider going to their college counseling centers, definitely consider engaging them. And the college counseling center will likely try to help that individual and will help that individual.
Of course.
And they may reach out to WJCS. They may also just ask you to reach out to WJCS. They may facilitate you reaching out to WJCS if they feel like WJCS can give them additional support. And so if you are a college student or a college student and you suspect that you have some mental health needs at this time, emotional health needs at this time, you could access services by giving WJCS a call.
Directly.
Yes, and so the number to reach an individual to talk about this program and to find out if you're eligible for this program is 914-423-4433, extension 3231. Again, that number is 914-423-4433, extension 3231. And this program is available to individuals who are Westchester County residents who are going to college inside or outside of Westchester, or a college student who's going to college in Westchester.
So either you're a resident and you're going to college, period, or you're a non-resident but you're going to college in Westchester.
Right.
And you're still able to avail yourself of these services.
Right.
I wanted to ask you about the clergy, the various faiths that are in operation here in the Westchester area. Are they cooperating to help the mental and emotional health of these college students?
Absolutely. The Department of Community Mental Health is very active in Westchester. We have a fabulous commissioner, Michael Orth, and he has worked so hard. He and his team have worked so hard to involve community partners to make sure that the reach that DCMH has is broad and deep. reaching into the community, engaging the community. And so one of the examples of that is the DCMH College Collaborative. I actually co-chair this committee with Commissioner Michael Orth and also Dr. Brielle Stark, who is the director of Iona College's Counseling Center. And the mission of that particular subcommittee or that particular committee at DCMH is to really engage all aspects of the colleges, college life, the college counseling centers, athletics, and more, and community partners in prevention and in treatment, like WJCS, like, for instance, NAMI or the Harris Project, to bring us all in the room, the college counseling centers, the nonprofits like WJCS, and the prevention partners, to really talk about what the needs are, and develop a way to collaborate together with the county and with all of these partners to address the needs of college students. And we were able to relaunch this in essentially the fall of 2020, and it's continuing and very vibrant to this day.
Through the pandemic.
Through the pandemic.
That's wonderful.
In fact, because of the pandemic, we've moved all our meetings to be Zoom-based meetings, and so it allows people to
the magic word of the pandemic is Zoom.
Absolutely, and it allows people to more readily access those meetings and participate. And one of the other really interesting things that the Department of Community Mental Health here in Westchester is doing is pre-pandemic, I think in March of 2020, they launched a initiative called Soul Shop. And Soul Shop brought together clergy and other faith-based leaders, the Department of Community Mental Health, and other community partners to start talking about how faith partners, faith leaders, community partners, and different religious institutions in the Department of Community Health can partner together to address the overall wellness of residents of Westchester.
Dr. Drew Mullane, I am shocked that our hour is over, but it is. So I'm so glad you're coming back in a few weeks because we have so much more to talk about. And I thank you for being with us today. And I thank you, Stephanie, for manning the control room so ably. And thank you to all the interns who are cheering her on in the background. And thank you to Alex, the intern supervisor and coach. And thank you all for listening. Don't go away, because WVOX continues. And if you want to call WJCS, by all means do so. They'll be happy to help you.
1460 WVOX New Road.